Hello there, I'm Evan Cole, and today I have for you an old format match for the 2011 format with Scott Creech on the left playing The Truth, and I'm on the right playing Dragapult Prime. So Dragapult Prime is one of these new cards from Pokemon Celebrations. If you want to learn more about Dragapult Prime, Scott and I actually created a discussion video, which will be linked here in the video and in the description. If you want to find out the list I'm using and also learn more about what we think about Dragapult and how it plays, go check that out. In this video, we are doing purely gameplay, and I'm actually joined on commentary here with Scott as we get into seeing out if this new powerful card can go up against the best deck in the entire format. Scott, how do you think this is going to play out?
Yeah, so as we kind of talked about in our discussion video, Dragapult has a really hard time against Vileplume, and with that being one of the Truth's main strategies is just getting that Vileplume up early. I think that there's a chance Vileplume will, at the very least, stumble.
Yeah, so Vileplume is going to be key for the Truth, and the variant of Dragapult that's going up against the Truth is that we are going to be playing the Dragapult Donphan Reuniclus variant, which I felt like had the best chance against the Truth. So the idea being to try to use my own Reuniclus and keep the damage away, just similar to how the Truth does. Try to take advantage of the Truth using Seeker, so that way I can also get my own damage off the board. And otherwise, try to get this Dragapult and Donphan up and running and see if we can outrun that Vileplume. Now, looks like I started with a Solosis and nothing else, which is a very poor start for the deck. And I'm not really sure what we're doing on screen right now.
I think I was this is when I was going over how doing proxies of the cards I've been working on have been difficult with Pokemon Primes.
Oh yeah, Scott, you want to tell us a little bit about the project you've been working on? I imagine all the old format community would love to hear more about it.
Yeah. So I've been working with something I've been calling Project Path, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm going through and making proxies of high quality proxies of Pokemon cards, or at least creating those images so that way players can get them done, rather than using World Championship cards or having to as we see here just print things off of the computer.
A very noble task. We know you've been going through basically the entire history of the game, and I imagine once that project is fully complete, it'll be a phenomenal resource for all of old format players here, especially with prices going up, try to save the wallet. And for all these Dragapult decks that we built for this session, they're all fully proxied. We didn't buy any of the cards. Obviously, we couldn't buy Dragapult because it hasn't even been released yet, but that's a pretty small downside for the ability to actually play these cards way before they ever came out. And so here going into the game, I started Solosis and I passed. I think I was hoping that I could take advantage of your Playground, but this collector already says that you don't even need to use Playground and it can instead force me to try to set up.
Yeah, it's going to allow me to turn around and try and apply a little bit of pressure faster than you can get set up. There's a potential to where I can attach a Rainbow Energy to the Zekrom next turn and get a knockout if you don't draw anything, or just take the knockout right here.
Yeah, so this means that I am now put on a one-turn clock to try to get another Pokemon into play. Fortunately, I have this communication, and I'm going to go get a Pichu, which I just now realized I forgot to talk about Pichu in our discussion. I have since removed Pichu from the list just because I wanted to run more Dreepy. This version of the deck only ran 3 copies, but in this specific instance, this Playground actually was what allowed me to not lose the game on turn 2. So now we actually get to have a full game here, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out with both decks now getting their entire bench.
Yeah, so we see you grabbing a couple of Dreepy, a Donphan. I'm gonna go in, grab the second Zekrom, and grab the Solosis, start getting my own Reuniclus set up adjacent to the Vileplume. And then you're also gonna turn around. It looks like you're eyeing up that second Donphan as well. Probably just to soak up some damage here and there. There's also the potential you could go for the second Solosis in case his current one gets knocked out for some reason.
Yeah, that second Solosis is a bit of a consideration. It's kind of weird because I don't think there would be many options where you can knock out Solosis in the truth, but it looks like I chose that Cleffa instead. I didn't get a good look at my hand here in the video, but it must not be very good if I'm planning to Eek next turn.
Alrighty, and here we see me going for Sage's Training. There's a lot of just kind of almost junk off the Sage's Training, and so being able to bin like the Solosis that isn't needed at this point, or the Pichu that we saw in there, as well as that extra copy of Twins, since I'm going to be a little bit of the aggressor in this matchup.
Which is really interesting. My first instinct off that double Twins was like, this is perfect. But at the same time, the communication is going to help you really get to that Vileplume as quick as possible, because you know that once you get that Vileplume up, I'm going to be struggling with lots of useless rare candies, junk arms, reversals, switches, everything. So this communication looks like you're wondering a little bit. I'm curious what you're going to grab. Do you think there's any choice other than Gloom here?
Yeah, so I went ahead and grabbed the Donphan here. The idea is, at the very least, I can get damage set up on my board to turn around and just try to apply some pressure with a quick Earthquake, and then also turn around and potentially get things set up for large outrages.
And now we see you already had the Gloom in hand, so now that Donphan makes perfect sense. Knocking out Pichu, actually taking the first prize with the Truth, which generally isn't what the deck wants to do here, so it's an interesting play pattern. We'll see how it turns out with you now being up a prize. Looks like I had nothing more to do than evolve into Donphan and Eek with Cleffa, so that hand was not very good, and I believe I flipped tails.
One of the thought processes I had behind attacking first like that and taking that first prize was I could turn around and go into the Earthquake to knock out the Pichu later, and then I can set us even on prizes, and I can choose to go down or up from there.
So we see that Sage's Training gets you that Vileplume. That's super clutch. Now that you have me locked out, I have a fresh hand. We just have to hope that there aren't many trainers in there. I think I saw 2 switch, and I think a Seeker. Let's see what we got here. So a couple energy. I do have the Donphan ready to start swinging out, but otherwise that hand looks pretty clogged. Might just have to start eking again.
Yeah, in this instance, you really wouldn't want to go into the Donphan, just because that Earthquake would knock out the Solosis, and that puts you in a little bit of a precarious situation. So going in with the Eek is probably optimal here. Alternatively, you could Seeker up the Solosis, and that would clear your board a little bit.
I might be thinking about it here. It would get that Pichu off your board, which I think it's kind of a wash whether or not that helps you. But right now, looking at my hand, I probably should just go straight in for the Eek. No, okay, so I think I am going to go for that Seeker. Maybe I do want to go into Donphan and knock out your Zekrom. So there we go. Seeker up the Solosis. So Donphan is going to knock out Zekrom because it does have 120 HP right now.
Yeah, and I turned around, I picked up the Solosis myself as well, with the idea that there's probably a good chance I wouldn't be able to get the Reuniclus next turn, and I also have a free retreater on board still with that Pichu.
Just drew the rare candy off the top. Unfortunately, not going to help you here with Vileplume on the battlefield, but that's not going to matter much, I don't think. Especially with this Pont now. And trying to see what I drew off the prizes. Doesn't look like there's a ton going for me in my hand right now.
Yeah, at this point you're kind of hoping to just maybe attach the Rainbow and then Juniper that all away.
That's probably going to be the move.
Here we do see an absolute clutch draw off of this Pont here. Just being able to lay down both those legend pieces right off the bat.
Wow. And a very important point about Entei Suicune Legend is that it has 160 HP, which means that a diving swipe cannot one-shot the Legend. And so it seems like your strategy is right away going to be to try to power up that Legend as soon as possible.
Yeah, being able to snipe around for 80 here and there, as well. Sorry, snipe around for 100 here and there, or just swing direct for 80, is going to be really powerful. It's going to apply a lot of intense pressure, especially in terms of how you manage the damage on your board.
So I do Juniper that way, that big hand. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the hand that I drew is a whole lot better. I see a Reuniclus, but no Duosion. And yeah, that looks like another hand clogged by trainers, or they are items now in 2011. So we will see what happens. You do get the fire onto that Legend, and it looks like a Duosion in hand. So once you get that Reuniclus down next turn, your board's set up. The truth is on its way to doing what it wants.
Yeah, so we just see a draw pass back and forth. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to play this Reuniclus here, getting that set up and allowing me to move around that damage how I see fit. I'm a little bit stalled for energy, and we just see a draw pass back and forth, essentially. So this could create an interesting scenario, and where we're just like in a standoff, waiting for one of us to fire off a decent attack here. You're kind of prevented from using Earthquake on your end, just because of the lack of Reuniclus on your side of the.
Plus, there's an exoskeleton on that Donphan, so it's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage anyway. And I do think that draw pass is a strategy that you need to adopt against the truth. Otherwise, either you're going to go up on prizes too early and they're just going to punish you with twins, or you're not going to get set up fast enough and they're just going to overwhelm you. So I do like the draw passes here, just trying to get something. The collector hopefully thinned out the deck, but right now it looks like all I can do is hope to power up this Donphan for a heavy impact.
Yeah, and at this point I'm kind of like trying to bide my time with that Donphan in the active, knowing that you can't pressure it a whole lot. There is a potential heavy impact coming in here soon within the next few turns, but I'm not terribly concerned of it.
Now, notably, I just drew a Pont and I did not play it, so my hand's massive. Now that you drop this Tropical Beach, there is a scenario where I can now comfortably use Oak's New Theory because the hand will get small enough that I can refresh it with Tropical Beach. Looks like we see the Seeker forcing me to pick up that Cleffa, and you just go Pichu Beach.
Yeah, I had picked up the Pichu on my end. It was just kind of to burn an extra card so I could draw an extra card off of the beach. Just because at this point I'm kind of digging for a Rainbow Energy so I can turn around and start off with my own Earthquakes.
Yeah, so you could either start using Earthquake with Donphan, or you could start powering up that Legend. Both strategies are effective. Now that you have the Reuniclus onto play, like, you want to be manipulating the damage counters. So me not attacking is actually kind of forcing you to put your own damage on. And I can't help but notice that I'm taking 10,000 years to shuffle my deck. Really trying to see if this Oak's New Theory is a good one. And it's not really.
It does help in the sense that you did find that second Rainbow Energy. So you'll be able to go in for heavy impacts here and start applying pressure on the Donphan that way at least. On the flip side, though, there's not much else going on for you.
No, and in fact, it looks like I'm considering just loading up a Drakloak on the bench and using Beach to fill up the hand. We see a Cleffa, a Junk Arm, and that might have been a Dragapult. But until I get this Reuniclus into play, doesn't feel like I have a whole lot going on. And that does look like I drew a Dragapult there.
Alrighty, so I'm just going to attach an energy here to Donphan and then Earthquake, throwing a bunch of damage onto my board. Then also applying enough pressure onto your Donphan to kind of force you to start getting something going here.
Yeah, it's a big problem that I do not have Switch available to me because of this Vileplume, basically forcing this Donphan to stay active until it gets knocked out, which I think is why I was so hesitant to attach that third energy to the Donphan, because these Earthquakes are going to take it out eventually.
Yeah, so here you're going for the Pont. I think what you're wanting to see most is just a Duosion, so you can start trying to get that Reuniclus set up. And I think that's actually exactly what you find here.
Finally, I think it's about turn 15 now, but once my Reuniclus gets up, I think the Dragapult deck is going to be feeling a lot better, because right now I think the hope is that since you do not have a Chansey or a Blissey in play, I think the strategy is going to be to try to just overwhelm you with damage counters to the point where you cannot just keep moving them around and keeping your Pokemon safe.
And we do see you hit that Reuniclus off the beach too, so that's going to be online here next turn if I don't do anything about it.
It doesn't look like you will be, but getting that Rainbow onto the Legend is already good enough. One more Rainbow Energy and you can start using that Torrent Blade attack. A 100 snipe is certainly going to come Reuniclus's way, and frankly, I don't really think there's anything I can do to play around that. I just kind of have to hope you don't get I think it would be a third or fourth Rainbow Energy you would need in order to get it onto that Legend.
I would need a second Rainbow Energy because it's water colorless.
Yeah, didn't you already use one on the Zekrom though?
Correct. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so I'm just going to turn around. I'm going to go in for this Twins here, and at this point, I'm going to try and start considering the route of using Chansey, just to get things going. In the meantime, I am going to grab a Rainbow Energy off of here as well as the Blissey. I have the Chansey sitting in hand, so as long as I don't get judged here for some reason or another, like my hand is sitting pretty. In theory, you could come in and diving swipe and take out the Blissey at one point, and that's something that I have to consider with this deck.
And the way you were able to enable that Twins play to begin with was because you used Reuniclus to knock out your own Pidgey, which is one of the, I think, iconic lines in The Truth. It's what the deck does.
Yeah. Being able to knock out that Pichu just allows you to really swing things so much in your favor.
It's absolutely crucial for the deck to function. It gave you bench space for Chansey, and it put you behind in prizes to use that Twins, and it took damage off the board. And so now, I think I'm on a clock. Because once that Blissey comes down, all that damage going away is just going to hurt. And as we can see, I put all the damage on Donphan, accepting it's going to get knocked out and trying to heal up on my bench here. And I think I just knock it out myself. There we go. So now we're both at 4 prizes even, and I can diving swipe to one-shot this Donphan. I kind of like that play.
Yeah, you're kind of going along the route that I just did with the Pichu and knocking that out. The Donphan with 120 HP, it's a wonderful way to just soak up a bunch of damage there, even though it's just a stage 1. As being a stage 1, you can turn around and you can power it up so easily as well.
Yeah, so we do end up seeing that diving swipe knocking out the Donphan. And case in point, I was inspired by The Truth when I came up with this Donphan Reuniclus style of Dragapult. And although I wasn't able to go quite down the route with like relying on Twins and Vileplume and all that stuff, the line of knocking out your own Donphan to get it out of the active because you're under Vileplume lock is just one of the many things that I think makes this archetype so dynamic. You just have so many routes to go down.
So at this point, I'm kind of realizing just the pressure that your own Reuniclus provides. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is attach that second Rainbow here, just to turn around and threaten the Torrent Blade on the Reuniclus. I think that's what I wind up doing anyway. But in the meantime, I can turn around and I can manipulate this damage on board just to keep things clear in case of some weird play in which things accidentally get knocked out.
And Torrent Blade is so powerful because getting that 100 damage snipe is going to be able to take out the Reuniclus and remove that option from me. Plus, once again, you have 160 HP. So even if I keep diving swiping, as long as you can effectively spread the damage out and never let your Entei Suicune Legend get knocked out, I think that's your key to victory here in this matchup.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to see here. We're going to see the Torrent Blade taking the knockout, going down 3-3 prizes again. I think that there is an argument to playing down something else besides the Phanpy, just to like potentially the Reshiram in deck, just to get the extra 10 HP buffer. Because I think at this point the math winds up working out in such a way that things just get so dangerously close to a full knockout across everything after a few turns, which is something that you definitely have to consider with this deck. Is just like what's your maximum capacity for damage here.
Wow, discarding that Rainbow Energy off Diving Swipe is absolutely massive. That means you only have 2 left. We know you have 1 in the hand, and I'm not sure if the other one is in the hand too, but currently you cannot use Twins to get that second Rainbow, so you're going to have to find another way to be able to power up this Entei Suicune Legend. And I do agree with you on this damage calculations here. I'm trying to do some quick math. It looked like you had about 350 HP available on your board, which means that will give you 3 turns to avoid getting knocked out with Diving Swipe, which is another 3 turns to play that Blissey, which you do already have. So it seems like you have enough time to take me out before I can take you out.
Yeah, and this point, like part of what makes Truth the best deck in the format is that it has such a massively high skill ceiling, as well as a fairly high skill floor, and just taking into account that kind of damage calculation is part of what makes the deck so difficult to pilot, but also so fantastic to pilot.
And here we see a Burning Inferno doing 80 and a burn, and unfortunately I flipped tails, so now I have 100 damage on this Dragapult, and I think the plan is going to have to be to retreat it, but that's you effectively taking out 3 attachments on your end, which I think is a great move. I do have this Seeker to fortunately pick up all that damage, but it's also going to allow you to pick up 60 damage as well, which won't really help me in the rat race here.
Yeah, I think that potentially the right play may have been to pick up the Donphan as well, just to remove that extra little bit of damage.
I think I agree with that, yeah. Solosis is not what you want.
I think my route was in a case where I don't find the Rainbow Energy for the Entei Suicune. What I could do instead is, and the Entei Suicune winds up getting knocked out because of that, is I would still have a backup attacker in Donphan.
I agree. I think Donphan and Zekrom are going to be... Well, I probably wouldn't be using Donphan because it has fighting resistance. But I think the Zekrom Reshiram are good. Attach the Rainbow, so those are your last 2. And you knock out my Drakloak, and that's a problem. I only have 2 attackers for the rest of the game here.
Yeah, it's applying just that weird pressure in unexpected ways that makes the Truth such a powerhouse in this format.
I benched a Dreepy, but I'm pretty sure there are no Drakloak left in the deck, so I might be reconsidering because there are no Drakloak left in the deck. If I'm doing math correctly, these are my last 2 Pokemon. I have to somehow write it out here with this. Really, I have to write it out with Dragapult because your Entei Suicune will one-shot my Donphan due to water weakness, so it's really do or die here, I think, for Dragapult.
Yeah, thankfully, I'm starting to approach that critical mass of damage on my board, in the point where after this Diving Swipe, I have to play down that Blissey, really.
Yeah, the timing is perfect. I think my only hope at this point is to hope that you don't have that Blissey, but of course we know you do, and you have timed this Blissey perfectly. Once you get all this damage moved around here, that Blissful Nurse is going to heal. I mean, that's 3 diving swipes I've used now that have basically brought nothing. I've gotten nothing out of them.
Alrighty, so here we see me kind of calculating out how much damage do I have to manipulate in order to perfectly play this Blissey here.
Yeah, so it will be a little bit of time. Looks like you have 100 damage left, and you can move 50 of it over to that Zekrom. So that Zekrom is now maxed out. So is Donphan. So is Vileplume. And it looks like Reuniclus can take another 30. And Chansey can take another 10. It's looking really close, but I think you're going to have it.
Yeah, there happens to be just enough damage on board to where it's not going to be a massive issue.
Now I'm trying to refresh myself. So yeah, if you do Blissful Nurse with any damage on Entei Suicune, you do have to discard the energy, but you have just enough to not have to worry about that. All of my hard work has been washed away here, and really just this 160 HP legend is what totally swings this matchup in the Truth's favor. Without the legend, I'm not sure that this game has the same story.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting here wondering, like, what could you possibly do to kind of help prevent that and potentially take the knockout on the 160? And with the Vileplume up, even if you ran something like plus power, like that doesn't case at all.
No, the only thing I can think of is a Pokemon with a higher damage output, and really that option is just Magnezone. So, of course, as we discussed in our conversation, Magnezone has its own problems with Vileplume. I believe we agreed that your Dragapult Magnezone variant just accepts the loss to to Vileplume, but
yeah, I think what you would have to do is you would have to run like a Rose Raid Unleashed, so you can attach the psychic energy to poison.
Oh,
and that may be a consideration. But like that's
spicy.
It's spicy, but it's as we've seen, Dragapult already struggles with consistency enough.
Yeah, it does seem like, obviously this is just one game against the Truth, and look at that. Torrent Blade to knock out the Dragapult even as I fled to the bench, and this game is over. You can Bursting Inferno to one-shot my Donphan, and just like that, the Truth, that was a dominant victory, I think. It didn't really look like Dragapult was ever in charge.
Yeah, and here we see me completely forgetting that Suicune is a water type. Who would have thought? And that water weakness does factor in and play into things. But being able to Seeker up that Blissey as well, even if you did have a bit more of a board established, like that also could have just turned around and I could have Blissful Nursed away even more of the damage that you applied to board.
Yeah, so you were never really in danger here. So congratulations on winning this game. I think this game is very instructive on, first of all, how dominant the Truth is. Unquestionable best deck in the format. And also, I think this is a great example of what Dragapult can and can't do and where it would fit in this metagame. I don't see many ways outside of a donk where Dragapult was ever going to win that match.
Yeah, essentially you either have to, as Dragapult, apply a donk or just enough fast, hard pressure and hope that I stumble in setting up and that you can bench me out that way.
Yep, and in this game, the Truth set up perfectly and did exactly what it wanted to do. So that will be it for this matchup of the Truth versus Dragapult. Again, if you are interested in hearing more about Dragapult, hearing our thoughts about the card, how it works in the format, our deck list that we chose to build, we do have a discussion video up. It's in the video and it's in the description as well if you'd like to go look at that. And we have many other matches that we recorded with Dragapult in 2011. So hopefully you'll get to see some ways in which Dragapult can win and also some more very interesting matchups. But that will be it for today. I'm Evan Cole, here with Scott Creech. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.